We are now live. Hello, everyone.
You sound so uncertain.
I haven't got a number of viewers up yet, and I'm 15
apparently.
Hi. Welcome.
Everyone's
Thank
waiting
you.
for us.
Apologies about the delay. Technical issues on my end, as always. But it's fine. We think we've worked it out.
I'm
yes.
just tweeting all the socials.
We've got a small team today, just the three of us, we were supposed to have Asher Hill joining us, but he ended up with a conflict, so we'll hopefully have him join us for something later on in the season. But you know, it's been the Grand Prix of withdrawals, and it's the Cup of China, Cup of Chaos. So we're gonna make do.
I love that. Absolutely. Ellie and Izumi are ill at the moment, so they're both resting. It's also like very early in the morning for Izumi, so her getting up to do these anyway, we're grateful for. But yeah. Oh, people in chat already. Hello, Laura. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Jonathan.
We can probably interact with you a little bit more this week now that we don't have a guest.
Yeah, I never know how to throw in comments, which is why I don't like hosting and why I miss Ellie a lot. So we'll be able to interact with you a bit, and you get your favorite people, which is us three. So what's not to love?
I did like this event. It was fun to see some skaters that we hadn't seen for a long time or ever before from China that, you know, I'm excited to have them back in the swing of competitions now.
Although we do miss Grand Prix Sheffield.
Yes.
1 year ago. I loved scrolling through Twitter yesterday and everyone's anniversary posts. I saw Anna's and was like, I've got to do mine.
I know. I realized afterwards that I needed to make two. The one that was basically just me being excited about Team Champray, and one that was me being excited about everything else that was also amazing about Sheffield, because it was wonderful for many reasons. And yes, I miss it.
Yeah. Well, 2026 we get Europeans, so you never know. But there's also I was reading, someone posted some articles about a lot of changes happening behind the scenes with the Finnish Federation. A lot of the event people have been switched around or have gone. So I assume next
they're struggling
year,
financially as well.
Yeah,
there's some financial troubles.
There was another post about Finlandia Trophy they're spending more than they're earning with Finlandia Trophy, which I thought was, you know, as a Challenger Series staple, quite interesting. Because I always think of like it being a good event. But I guess like
a staple of the Challenger Series.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be interesting to see. We obviously assume Russia will be banned again next year. If who's going to submit a bid to replace Rostelecom, because it might not be Finland.
Sheffield, come on!
I did see. This is completely unrelated to the Grand Prix, so maybe I should be talking about it. But I did see an article earlier from UK Sport about I think it was 6 or 8 different places that had received like excellent status, and Sheffield City Council was one of them. So I don't know if that's going to help, but it might.
I did wonder about that when I saw this stuff about posting about Germany wanting to host, or Berlin wanting to host the Olympics, and thinking about the state of German sport, and then thinking about them wanting to host the Olympics seemed slightly questionable. But I do wonder about the Finlandia. I mean, so we'll have to get somebody in who knows more about the Finnish Federation to explain this to us. But because I thought that challengers did get ISU funding, and oh no, Sarah.
Sarah went. Did she freeze out?
I would think that the Grand Prix would be a much bigger lift in terms of cost to the Federation And yes, hopefully it brings in more money, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess with the Grand Prix, they have to cover everyone's costs, and with Finlandia, they cover most of it themselves. So that, but the fact that Finlandia is still struggling as well, it's not
the
best news. That was very interesting. About Ice Challenge as well. I'm still not clear on why Ice Challenge went away this year. It was a very strange post when they made it to say it was cancelled. I don't know if that was to do. I had a theory that it was to do with the fact that they were maybe asking all of them to do like paid streams, because it seemed the tone of it was very odd. But like maybe they weren't a fan of the fact that they were being put behind a paywall or something, or encouraged to do that. Yeah, that was just my speculation. There was no real intel on that.
I mean, they also mentioned in their like this event is cancelled post, they talked about YouTube viewers and like their streams. So I did think that's maybe what they were hinting at with that.
Yeah,
we have a lot of questions about the Challenger series. Yeah.
I can promote this. Thank you for that segue. I am working on an article, which I'm like pausing until the end of the Challenger series to get like the full sort of view on everything. I will retweet the link on the AnythingGOEs account again after this. Maybe it's just a quick little survey form to fill in, just about like if you've seen the streams, would you pay for a stream, that sort of stuff, and a box at the end where you can put all your other comments. We've got so many responses so far, so thank you if you filled that in. Very grateful, and I will try my best to put something cohesive together and get some answers.
I'm looking forward to reading it.
Oh gosh, thank you.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it'll be a team effort though, because we'll see how.
I just remembered when you were saying that I said I would go through the data and try and come up with stuff for you for that, and I was like, oh yeah, I said I was going to do that.
Oh, there's still time. So I want to, as we get into Cup of China now, Russell commented, a great Cup of China event, well done to the Chinese Federation after some years. It was very enjoyable. Yeah, I think there was chaos in places, as Anna mentioned at the start, but I do think overall it was a good event. We got a non-GeoBlock stream again, so thank you for that. I missed you. And I think
my computer just permanently lives in the Netherlands now. I got geo-blocked from watching my local news channel, and then I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, oh, right, I forgot that I was still on Netherlands VPN. That seems to just, it's where my computer lives now all the time.
It's funny when you leave it on and like an advert comes, like a completely like Dutch advert comes on, you're like, wait, what? Oh, okay. They think I'm in the Netherlands.
But it's also funny when it's just like a word, almost a word for word translated advert of something you've seen, and it's in a different language, and you're like, what's happening? It's very funny. So yeah, I guess we'll start with the pairs event.
Yeah, so pairs, we had the champions Diana Stellato-Dudek and Maxime Deschamps. Silver was Rebecca Ghilardi and Filippo Ambrosini, and bronze was Cheng Peng and Lei Wang. We're hoping I've got that name right, but please tell me if I didn't. And yeah, I think this was a really nice pair event in a lot of ways. It was great to see the three Chinese teams. They're all kind of different levels of development, but lots of fun. And I also really enjoyed the back-to-back vampire programs between the Canadians and the Italians. I do enjoy both programs. I especially enjoy that Max has listened to my feedback from the Autumn Classic finally, and the bloody shirt has gotten bloodier. There's now some red on the inside of the opening, so that when it opens all the way, it's actually obvious that there has been a costume change, which it was too subtle before. And as we've discussed, there needs to be nothing subtle about this. I also enjoy the Rebecca's costume with the sort of crystal blood drops going down the back over the illusion mesh. All top notch. If you're going to do a vampire program, I expect it to be, full on drama and campiness. And they're both, well, really all four of them are leaning into it. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I remember when I first saw Deanna and Max's program at Autumn Classic, I didn't realize there'd been a costume change. I don't know how I didn't realize that, because when you see the picture of them like in the mix zone, you're like, oh, it's obvious. Obviously they've had a costume change. You can see it, but like, it's just when you're looking at it from a distance, you don't notice it as much. But it's very, very clear now.
I even like made a note that I noticed it this time. I paid extra attention, and I worked out it's because like the angle is like, so it's in the move when Deanna's sort of I don't know how to describe, like koala hugging, if that description helps at all.
It's like Constant is going to
and
is biting his neck.
Yeah, and it's only at that point, and I think the camera angle was slightly different, that I was like, that's the moment, and I noticed it.
It's when there's the voiceover also, and I can't remember if the voiceover has always been in there. I think I maybe only noticed it this time because I was distracted by other things, or maybe they've made it more obvious, but the voiceover was also right at that point where he becomes a vampire. And also I think our still image for this episode needs to be the point where we're both like making vampire pouncing gestures. But yeah. I have to say, though, I love this program, and actually really like both programs for Rebecca and Filippo. And I love the final position that they have in this free skate where she's like basically like climbing down his leg. It's totally acrobatic and fun, and I feel like they're really pushing what they can do with lifts and with the spins and with all of their pair elements. So I love seeing it. I feel like they're one of the teams that really comes in with creativity, and I just really hope that they can do something about their jumps, because it's so stressful watching Rebecca's leg wrap, and I know she's been trying to work on it, but it's it's really going to be hard for them.
Yeah, I do think that both of the programs, I think this is the most impressive set of programs I think I've ever seen them have on a season like that. Like there'll be seasons where I think, oh, one program is really good, and then I won't necessarily love the other one, but I think both of them are quite impressive this year.
I was just working through an article to publish soon with Andre Hotarek, and it was I was looking back at what he was saying about some of the teams. This was back from Skate America, and then looking ahead to where he thought teams were going to be by the time they got to Cup of China, and in particular thinking about Annika and Robert. And he said then, this is going to be a hard competition for them to stay on the podium, that the 180 total score that they had at Skate America was going to be tough. Because by Cup of China, everyone was going to be going into the 190s. And so I looked at the scores and thinking, yep, you had the Canadians were over 200. Rebecca and Filippo were about 190. But the thing is, if Annika and Robert had gotten the scores and had the skate that they had, which was not perfect, but better than here, if they'd had the skate that they had at Skate America, they would have made bronze. So, and that's where the travel and those challenges, and they acknowledge that they're dealing with a bunch of things right now. And so hopefully, fingers crossed that first and fourth will be enough for the Grand Prix final for them. But I was sorry to see, it's always hard. Like, I was sorry to see them struggle here. I also really enjoyed seeing Chengpeng back in competition, and she is just so much fun. And I love, like, I feel like at this point I'm just watching her. I'm not really seeing her partner. They still seem like they're a new partnership, but just really, really exciting. So I was also happy for them to get the bronze here.
Yeah, I feel like I pay like closer attention to him because I did watch when they kind of like had their first video of their competition out in the summer, and I thought they were so mismatched, and he was not up to her level. And I think he's worked so hard since then to come up to her level. Obviously, it's not quite at the standard that she is because she's, you know, she just came off the Olympics last year, and I don't think he's performed internationally in like something like 7 years, something like that. It's a long time. I mean, it might be like 6 or something, but I'm not sure. I know he had a very brief partnership that never got to competition in that time, and yeah, he's 35. Like, he's obviously one of the oldest skaters in the field. So the fact that he's putting that work in to match her and to improve is very commendable.
Yeah, I looked up on I'm sourcing Wikipedia here, as we all know is like the best source.
Despite the fact that somebody is ruining Wikipedia, and it's really annoying. Somebody's ruining all of the tables and all of the information.
Changing the tables, it's very annoying. I don't like change. But on Wikipedia, I think it says he last competed in 2019. He obviously had like a partnership in between, but they didn't really compete. But yeah, to see him sort of have to come back to the international, like a very high international level, after not competing like for a long time is very impressive. I did notice, and it sort of stuck in my brain because I've not, to my very bad memory, I've not seen it before, but in the free skate after his fall, and he was trying to sort of get back, he really had to like push on the ice to like work to catch back up to Cheng's pace, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if that's just like a very random thing that I clocked onto because I was actually paying attention for once. But I thought it was interesting that he really had to work hard to get that speed, which he did get back up in the end.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I'm sorry, I was going to say it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with the back-to-back with travel, because obviously I think he's only competed in China so far this year, so it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that quick turnaround.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I think they're the only para team that's making this back-to-back. But yeah, it will be. And I'm excited. You know, I really hope that we see more from all 3 of these teams. I felt like they're all, you know, certainly worthy of space on the Grand Prix, and looking at how they stack up against some of the other younger teams in development. And so, you know, I was glad to see them, and I really hope we'll keep seeing more of the Chinese pairs as we go. And I did want to give a little bit of a shout out to the Mokovs, and I just feel like they're so interesting. I don't know anything really about them and their training. I know they're coached by their parents, and they train in a rink that does not have as much, you know, high level pairs, but they really present such different programs, different styles. They're you know, the structure of their programs. I actually really love that their short program, they start with their step sequence, and that it's actually a really fascinating and like musical step sequence. And it's so rare that we actually get interesting step sequences in pairs. And so I really enjoy them. They, at least to my memory, they seem a little rougher on some of the elements than they did last year on the Grand Prix. Yeah. And I don't know if there's an injury or something going on there, but I enjoy them, and I kind of hope they'll be able to get themselves together a bit more competitively, because I think they provide a style and just sort of a fun I don't know, an approach that's different than the other teams, and it's nice to see that variety.
I have a request. If any skaters are listening, on the very, very, very off chance they are, please consider going to their parents for choreography, because I love that both of their choreographies that they had. Specifically thinking last year, but yeah, please, please, I want to see more of the choreography.
Yeah, I do think Maria maybe has had a bit of a growth spurt. I think that might be something that's hurt them a little bit, because she's also quite young. So I think that's kind of thrown off the elements a little bit. But yeah, don't know if there's been an injury as well.
Yeah.
I want to shout out, and once again, apologies for pronunciation, Xiyang Zhang and Yong Chao Yang. They didn't have a great free skate. I think they had an aborted lift at one point, but I think it's very interesting to see that their PCS and their other elements were actually like pretty good. And there is like promise, as Anna mentioned. It just sort of takes time to build, especially on such a big stage.
I remember they had a really good Shanghai trophy, and definitely surpassed expectations there. So you've seen that they can do it. It just didn't all go right here. But it didn't go all right for anyone here.
Yeah, it wasn't really not technically the best, but I mean, we are now getting to see that so far anyway, Dana and Max are the only team that has won both. And we'll have to see how the Italians measure up next week against the Germans. But it's going to be an interesting. I think as we said, they're really making the case for themselves as the undeniably the top team that's competing, at least on the Grand Prix. So
yeah.
I also had a note that Bakari and Gruse's scores, season's best score for them is in the 191 mark. And Rebecca and Philippa got 191 exactly. So there's 3 European spots and 2 for Worlds.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a very fun little battle between them.
Yeah, it is. And that's I don't know. This always happens. Why do I do this to myself? I always decide to like emotionally imprint on the teams that have questionable jumps. And skaters just in general. I think I swear I'm not doing this intentionally, but even though I do very much enjoy Lucrezia and Matteo, and I hope that they do well and they keep improving, I just am like, I don't want Rebecca and Filippo to be eclipsed too much. So anyway,
yeah,
I always thought you were going to go into Anna Valisi and Manuel Piazza when you were talking about Italians and questionable jumps.
But, well, also I know,
also back to back as well. But
yeah, and the thing about
I love their short program so much as well.
I don't worry about them because I think they're young and I've seen them improve so much since last year. And like, yes, they've got to get their jumps, but I have more confidence that they're on a trajectory where they will be able to get them. Whereas I don't want to say that Rebecca's not going to get her jumps, but it's just she's really starting from a position of a technique that's going to make it really hard for her. So it's just they're kind of operating with some points left on the table that they then have to try to make up in other places. And that's a tough position to be in.
Yeah, it's too
not that she's that old either. I'm not saying that, but just they've been around longer as a team. So you might think that they'd have made more progress on those pieces up to this point.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go through some comments. A lot of sadness, but also love for Annika and Robert, obviously.
I really hope they make the final. I know, like, it's favoritism, but I love them, and I want them all the good things for them.
Yeah, I think someone a little bit further down, Melissa, also very sad for Annika and Robert. Someone further down mentioned, who was it? Oh my gosh, I should have remembered.
You should start the comment from now
Here
on.
we go. I should. Okay, wait. Let's start here. Hase and Volodin also have back-to-back Grand Prix, so that's Finland and Japan.
With big travel as well, so
yeah,
that's going to be interesting for them.
So Kesnia, I apologize if I pronounce your name wrong. Please tell me how to say it correctly. Says they may overcome Annika and Robert. They have 2 Grand Prix assignments and also not yet been on the Grand Prix. So we're sort of judging based on challenger appearances, which were a little while ago now.
Yeah.
I asked Annika and Robert like how they feel about basically the fact that they went from having one strong, German team that they were competing against with FMOV and Blumard to now having another strong German team that they're competing against. And they really said that, this is what everyone would say. Of course, they're just trying to think about themselves, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that it was interesting to see kind of that, as makes sense with their personalities, that Robert is very focused on just, this is what we can do. If people are better than us, they're better than us. We just want to get better. Like, doesn't matter where they're from. And like Annika is much more, I think, aware of all of those things and like trying to set that aside. And so I think that's an interesting dynamic for them as a team, and seeing where they go. But they've got the spots. It's not that they're going to be struggling in this same way that they might if it was just, this is just the one spot or something. So hopefully we can have lots of great German pairs. Yay.
Amy also mentioning what Anna mentioned earlier, that Robert mentioned it was a tough week, especially off ice. The tone of it was like there was a little something going on. So of course we are sending our best wishes to them as well.
Yeah. While we're talking about them, my favorite random thing that I happened to notice this week while looking at one of the coaches from Ice Lab, Daniel Asiano's Instagram, was that he has apparently adopted the giant unicorn plushie that Annika got tossed at Skate America. It was a very cute picture of it sitting at his desk with all the paperwork. And it's apparently the unicorn's name is Robertica.
That's so cute.
I love it. It's great.
The question of what do skaters do with the plushies that are like as large as they are. In this case, at least that one did make it from Texas back to Bergamo.
Yeah, I'm always worried they're not going to be able to take them home. I'm always worried they're not going to allow them on the plane.
Yeah, I wonder how it is transported. I know Jason Brown donates all of his to local Ronald houses. Yeah. Which I also think is very, very cute.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely seen some pictures of skaters like asleep on the plane, like hugging them. So, just use it as a giant pillow.
I mean, I was just thinking of like Kurakova, because her bear was like huge. She was hiding behind it in the kiss and cry. It's like it's probably going to be bigger than her on the plane.
Yeah.
I want to shout out this comment from Sharon. She says, I love watching and listening to the 3 of you. Thank you so much, Sharon. That means a lot.
It does. I know that when we saw that comment, we both smiled.
Yeah. It's nice to hear. I was very worried that we'd be talking to like 5 people because we don't have special guests, but it's nice to hear everyone wants to come and unwind about skating together. So that's what we're hoping that these little chats are for. I think we can move on from pairs.
Yeah, I think so.
So.
I completely forgot this, but I'm announcing this one. Yes, I am. In gold, we have Piper Gillies and Paul Poirier. In silver, we have Marjorie Latry and Zachary Lager. And in bronze, we have Caroline Queen and Michael Parsons.
What an event.
Oh, I'm still obsessed with the fact that both Marjorie and Zach and Caroline and Michael have exactly the same color combinations on their outfits this season. I don't know how you managed to end up with that when you're not even like in the same country.
Well, also the fact that they've competed at two of this, they had the same two Grand Prix. Yeah. So I feel like amazing. I've been noticing this and then seeing them skate their free skates back to back. I noticed this time that I could appreciate the nuances of them each and how they think they both skated well, and I could sort of feel like I could appreciate what they're each doing. The first time I saw the two back to back, especially with the matching costumes, I just was like, wait, how are you two doing the same? Like, you're doing the same concept, you've got the same costumes, you're like in the same, going for the same podium spots. Like, no. But
luckily it doesn't seem to be hindering anyone too much.
And I'll put this back up for the comment. Laura said the podium color scheme though, I loved it. It was amazing.
It's great.
Yes.
Yeah, very aesthetic.
So yeah, Piper and Paul just clutch the win. Just very close. I'll be honest, I didn't expect it to be this close.
Yeah, I also think there were some questionable GOEs because I did miss I missed the free dance because I was asleep because it started at like 6:30 a.m. in the morning. So I was just going back and watching it. They've got a very high GOE on that early lift that Paul's leg was shaking on. I was like, excuse you, that's not necessarily very fair. I thought they got better as the program went on, though. I thought there was a couple of dodgy moments at the beginning, but they got more solid as the program went on. But I think maybe it should have been a little bit closer than it ended up being.
Yeah, and that was the thing, like the lifts, like the last three lift, all of that was great, and so it just seemed like, I'm sure that that's a lift that they can do just fine. Probably just got slightly off, and it was just not. But I would agree on the GOE there, and also to see that yes, Piper did get through the twizzles in the free skate, but lost some levels there as well. Yeah. It seems like that was a little shaky.
Is a thing to work on because both programs, it was a struggle.
Yeah.
I do think that the judges realized everyone had put Piper and Paul to win fantasy, and so gave us like a little treat. So thank you, judges, for that. I thought this is the only thing I'm doing okay in.
It's funny how that's happening recently because I had it with I have to put like at least 2 people in the first group, if not 3. But sometimes you think, oh well, this is a clear winner, and we had that with Leo and Trent and Conti Machi last week. I was like, these are the 2 I've got on the top. I was like, everyone's going to pick Conti Machi, and then that didn't work. And then this week I've got Marjorie and Zach and Piper and Paul in the first group. It's like, oh, that's a lot closer than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So Marjorie and Zach obviously winning, excuse me, the rhythm dance. They weren't happy with it after Skate America. They said and you can really tell how focused they are about it. That they wanted to make changes, and they very clearly did. They were very shocked with the scores, which I think was also very adorable to see.
They got a +5 on a twizzle, which was very.
I was going to say the twizzles were perfect, absolutely
so
perfect. And it's so rare these days to have a perfect twizzle. It was just amazing.
Yeah. They were great, and I'm still a little iffy on the rhythm dance for Michael and Caroline, but I did really appreciate, I guess their free dance is really growing on me. I felt like I watched it and was sometimes my mind starts to wander during more classical ice dance programs. I'm sorry. It's especially when I've been watching 6 hours of skating on Sunday because I was trying to catch up to everything all at once. So what I'm trying to say is the compliment within my the insult of my mental capacity is that I was really just each element that they were doing was interesting and crisp, and I just felt like each thing was leading so cleanly into the next thing that I just felt like I was with them on that whole journey, which is if you're going to skate to that kind of music and do that kind of program, we really it needs to be that. It can't be at all mushy or you're really going to lose people. And I felt like that it had improved a lot since the last time that I'd seen them. And speaking of their costumes, when I asked Caroline about it, she said that it was her dress, especially, it was a picture of a sunset that she had sent off to be like, this is what I want on this dress. And so that the color gradations are like not just generically a sunset, they are a specific sunset.
I really like the music choice for the regular. I like they often choose pieces and things that no one else has done before, so I really enjoy that they're a team that doesn't really go for the kind of warhorse thing. But also, like, in regards to their rhythm dance, I did see a lot of more nuance in it this time, because obviously it was very new last time they did, and I thought it was very much kind of element to element. There wasn't much like in between in terms of like added parts, but I think they've made improvements there.
I want to second what Anna was saying about attention span with classical music. It's why I love when skaters branch out a bit. And I think one of the things about ice dance is they have a required, or they have a rule that you have to change the tempo of the music at one point. And I love that, because when it's like 4 minutes of the entire like same tone, it can get very boring. And like, again, I have a short attention span. It also makes catching up on skates harder, because I'm like, this is boring, I want to skip it. This isn't directed at anyone specifically, it's just generically how my brain works. Like, I want to get to a more exciting or entertaining element or part of the skate. That's why I normally try and watch stuff live, unless time zones obviously don't.
I had that. There were a few people that I'm like, I already know I don't like this program. I already know how they did, like, over the course of the event, that I was skipping. Whereas, like, and I am just very shallow. I'm just like, oh, I don't like this music, I'm skipping this program sometimes. But so I agree about the value of watching things live. I want to give a congratulations shout out to Lucia and Theo, the French team. They're some of my favorites, and they did not do as well they had a time violation on the rhythm dance, which I actually love their rhythm dance. I think they're doing such a good job with it, but they then were able to climb quite a couple of places up for the free dance. And I am not as much a fan of this Benoit free dance as I was of the one that they had last year. I thought that one was a little bit more interesting, and this starts to feel a little bit more generic Benoit shapes that they're making. That said, I think the first part of it, to the Clair de Lune, speaking of music that can be boring if you're not doing it well, I really enjoyed. And they have a couple of one of their lifts, and I can't remember which one, that I was just really, really impressed by. And I know they're a team that doesn't always, like, I remember them saying to me, like, they often feel like lifts are not the thing that is like that comes the most naturally to them compared to some teams. They're a little more similar in height than some teams, but I thought they had some really nice pieces in that program.
Yeah, I always think they have very good lifts, so they shouldn't see it as, like, not necessarily a weakness, but something that doesn't make them stand out. Because I think they always have very interesting shapes and choices that they make with their lifts.
Yeah, well, and maybe that's part of it, that if they just try to do some other team's lift and they're like, oh, that doesn't maybe work so well for us, come up with something that works well for them. And so,
exactly,
that's not a bad thing then. But yeah, I really enjoyed them, so I was glad to see them do well here.
I sort of, they popped onto my radar, and I have looked this up to get it right. The 1920 season, they had a free dance to Carmen, but it's
not normal Carmen.
It's like a remix Carmen, but a good remix, or a remix I enjoyed. Because I think I think it's the one that was used in the TV show Dance Academy, and I just watched the show, and that's why I was like, I know this. So I really enjoyed it, and it's sort of like quirky, but also French ice dance, if I can say that in a nice way.
I love that Villard will pick something that is a warhorse, but always give it like a fresh take. They never do something that's very normal. They always try to go outside of the box a bit, and I love that about Villard programs.
I mostly love the programs, and then every once in a while they do one that I will absolutely hate. But I always have an opinion about it, and so I'm like, exactly. I appreciate that.
It's always memorable, even if it's not to your taste.
Yeah.
And I want to say their rhythm dance. Okay, now bear with me here because this might be wrong. Their rhythm dance felt new. Like I watched their Masters one, and I felt like the music was different, or it was the same song, but it like
I don't remember what they look like at Masters.
I don't remember what the song is called, but the one from, can I say Fresh Prince, the one that Lucas did the second part of his exhibition to. That part I felt like started in the beginning, and that could be.
They have that part, then they go into something else, and then they go back to it. That's the structure. So
maybe I tuned in midstream, or maybe because I felt like there was something like it didn't go back at one point. I don't know. I need to find a stream and rewatch it because it felt different to me.
Yeah, it was interesting watching them and Payne Bai both do programs that were more trying to be on the 80s hip hop side of things, which I appreciate teams trying different things, but I thought I liked Lucy and Theo's version of those two that I was watching back to back better. I also really enjoyed seeing Emily Brady and Ian Somerville here. I haven't seen as much of them recently, and I like their free dance a lot. I thought the Nemekitapa was really well done for both of them, and because I'm so familiar with both Carolina Costner's version and Stefan Lambiel's version, and they had each said that they were had learned and watched and really appreciated those. I felt like I could see little hints of that in some of the choreography, like little Easter eggs. So I was enjoying that, as well as I thought their acting skills were really are developing nicely in that.
I think Ian Somerville is one of the most naturally obviously he puts a lot of work in, but naturally talented skaters in the ice dance field. He's just so good. Not that Emily isn't, but he's always just had that command of the blade that so many people just wish they could naturally do as well as that.
Yeah, and I mean, you both follow Ice Dance more closely than I do, but it seems like this was a pretty good result for them in terms of staying up close to the other American teams and being not, I feel like they're not quite in that same conversation as some of the others, and so trying to not get left behind. This seemed like
it's interesting in American Ice Dance because a lot of times recently when a new team is formed, US figure skating will push that team really hard, and then they might have a little drop off the year after. So I feel like they got a big push when they first came out. Then they had kind of a slow start to the following season. I think Emily had a concussion that derailed their season a little bit. And then kind of US figure skating is now kind of all about Amelia and Vadim.
Yeah.
So they're kind of getting that new team push. So it's interesting to see how things shake out with more time. But everyone's kind of battling each other in the middle of that field. It's very interesting.
Yeah. That actually made me look up some of the season's best scores for the American dance teams. And Ava and Logan peaked at Autumn Classic. They've never
it was way so higher than anything they'd got before.
Yeah.
Autumn Classic scoring was weird to begin with, I will say. There were a bunch of very
the Nikolai result.
Yeah.
It's very strange. It's like some of the panel had never seen some of those skaters before.
Yeah, so going off season's best, you have Ava and Logan at 191, Christina and Anthony at 191, Caroline and Michael at 189, which was their Cup of China score, which I still think might be a little bit too low. Yeah, because these other two were challengers, and it feels weird to peak at a challenger and sort of come down rather than like do that build up. But Caroline and Michael still feel a little bit underscored to me personally. Una and Gage 187, Amelia and Badim 187 as well, and then Emily and Ian.
Amelia Badim's from the Challenger, or was that Grand Prix?
That was from the Challenger.
That was the one with Diana and Gleb at it.
And then Emily and Ian's 179. So
I think very close.
Yeah, it really like the national teams will really come down to the skates at nationals, which I think is kind of fun because you don't know what to expect.
And Hawaii and Baker, if they are fit, is going to be an entirely wild card score because you haven't seen them yet.
Do you think there's any truth to the rumors about the British citizenship and that's why they're not competing right now?
No, it would be impossible for Caitlin to get British citizenship if she's not living here and she's not related to someone. It's not happening.
I think there's multiple. There's the USFS would never release them.
True as well.
Because I think you have to pay back everything that the Federation have basically put into you.
Yeah,
that's not happening.
I think he was just getting a passport update for his British passport, if I'm honest, because British passport holders have had to change passports. I think it was a very funny theory. Listen, I love chaos.
It's like how we knew as soon as Olivia and Tim paired up, they weren't representing Britain. We knew that. Yeah. Like people were like, "Oh, there's 3 country possibilities." No, there isn't.
It would be fun.
Not living here, and he's not married to someone here. He's not getting British citizenship.
As an outsider, it would be fun to watch. But yeah, I think it was just a passport renewal. I actually thought you were going to ask about Gabby and Guillaume.
Oh yeah, that was that rumor too.
That rumor going around.
I'm
not convinced yet. I have to see hints of training, but they don't really post training in the first place. So I would have to have more substantial evidence to think that they're coming back than there is right now.
Yes, I have to talk to our sources now. But I think
one day.
It's fun to think about though, and what kind of speaking of chaos that might ensue. But yes, fun.
Yeah, I think it's time to run through some comments now. Daniel saying a big breakthrough for Lajoie Lagar.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention something about that. I don't think they've had to skate last at a big competition like this since they won Junior Worlds. I imagine that would be the last time they had to skate last like that, and they handled it very well. But yeah, that was what came to my mind of last time they were last skating in a big group like that.
Yeah, because shortly after it got changed to reverse orders, didn't it? Since COVID.
I don't think they've done it since. Not maybe like at a challenger, obviously. But
challenger.
I'm saying
it's a Grand Prix,
a big competition, like a Grand Prix.
Jonathan said, Lala are not messing around this season. Great to see. I didn't like the rhythm dancing at challenges, but they've totally sorted it. They have. They've worked on it very hard. Excuse me.
Because I know we looked up when they did the challenger. I think it was the first time in years and years and years that Zachary had made a mistake in a twizzle. Like it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen with him.
And it was funny because Marjorie made the mistake the day before. Zach did the day after, and then he posted the Spider-Man meme on his Instagram, and I thought that was very funny.
Equality.
comment from Amy saying loads of really awesome free dances in this event. I've always been quite neutral on Yildiz and Poirier before, but I really like this free dance. Really cool choice of music. No comment on some GOEs though. Agree.
Yeah, I was talking about this before we went live, that it seemed like a lot of the people who are doing both Skip Canada and Cup China really kind of struggled. And that's not kind of the struggle you would expect. The people who came immediately from France would have been the ones who were struggling, but it felt like, I don't know if it's the time change because it's obviously so drastic. But yeah, it felt like Deanna and Max struggled a bit, Piper and Paul struggled a bit.
It may have been more difficult for people to I was thinking especially for people who went to Vancouver back to the East Coast and then went wet, like that back and forth, I think can make it harder. Also, I wonder about the ability for people to find, if they wanted to come early, to find places to train in China. Like, just I don't know. I mean, I know some teams are managing. I saw that Lucy and Theo said they were staying in China for a little while because they're going to then skate in Japan.
And Rebecca and Philippa were going to Japan to train before.
Right. And in some ways it makes, like, I'm just thinking about where there are teams that have connections and where things are easier. And just because there haven't been as many competitions or as much exchange going on with China recently, that might have felt a little more difficult. Visas are a little more difficult for China than they are for a lot of places. So I'm pure speculation, but if that was something that made it a little bit harder for people. Question for you, and also for anyone in the chat who knows this: is the movie that the Wuthering Heights from worth watching?
I have not watched it. So I couldn't tell you. I think I tried to start reading Wuthering Heights when I was like in college, and I never did it. I was like, I need to read that book. I never did.
I know. And I typically I like Jane Austen. I like Emily Bronte. Like, I like Jane Eyre. Like, and I like watching like historical, period drama type things. So I feel like I want to watch it and have another like set of storyline to go with their program. But yeah, if anyone knows if it's terrible or whether I should try to find it. I think it's from the 90s, so it may be a little challenging, but I'm curious.
While people
Gabriel said something about how he's going to train with Carolina and Yuma. I think that's cool. Interesting.
Oh yeah, and Emily and Ian are also training with Kathy Reed, I think.
Oh yes, I saw
in
that.
between.
Yeah, well, and that makes total sense that in general, it makes total sense that people would be able to go train with Kinoshita because they have ice for dance in pairs, which there isn't much else in Japan. So that makes sense that connection would be they'd be using. Yeah.
I think it would be a nice experience for the dancers that don't have a lot of other dancers around as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Before we move on, a couple of other people. I always hate missing people, so I'm going to try and skim through this. Russell said they also love Green and Parsons free dance, very original, grown on them. Oh my gosh. I scrolled down. I've skipped so many. I'm sorry. Okay, we'll come back. Mr. Gal says, apparently the movie is a pretty bad adaptation. The book is great for those like me who just like stories about awful people. We've all been there.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I mean, it was only ever on my reading list because I knew it was like a tumultuous story. It was like I never got around to reading it.
So that's the thing. I have to. Okay. See, I feel like that's the thing. I need to go into it with the idea that I'm gonna find them both probably quite annoying, but I need to get into the drama of it, which is not my usual viewing experience. I like to watch things where I have somebody to root for, but I think I'm gonna give this a try. I feel like I want to be taken on the journey that Piper and Paul are laying out for us. So.
And on that note, we will head to the women.
Gold, we have Hannah Yoshida. In silver, we have Rinka Watanabe. And in bronze, we have Luna Hendricks.
I'll say what we're all thinking. A surprise drop for Luna, though she has said that she was ill.
Yes, I think considering the illness, she's done a very good job. Like, obviously, it wasn't what she would have wanted to put out, but obviously, it wasn't easy for her.
Still very close.
Yeah, and the thing about where Luna is right now is that I think she's just reliably so strong that she can have a bad if she can have a bad competition, it's not the end of the world. Like, and I think compared to the pressure that she was under last year to kind of prove herself, like, I hope that she can see this as just like, oh, that was tough. Got through it.
I think she's got, like, it just seems like she has a better mindset this year. It just seems like she's taking what's happening, you know, just like, okay, that's happened, we'll move on to the next thing. It felt like she put so much pressure on herself last season.
And I get that as well, because I remember before the Olympics, she was saying that, like, she was thinking about retirement and sort of leading up to 2022, and then COVID happened, and obviously she had a bunch of injuries around that time. And I saw, I think, her Instagram story about it, and she was like, she never thought she'd get to this, and listed the medal she's achieved and all of her achievements. And it's like, thinking 4 years ago, she really didn't think she'd be in this place. And that, I think, is a really cool story to take away.
Something I always remember about Luna is when she was out for that, I think it was a year and a half with injury, I remember her doing an Instagram story of how inflamed her ankle or foot was. It was so swollen, like, and I was like, how the hell can you even walk? And she probably couldn't, but it was just like the fact that she was able to come back from such bad injuries, I always think it always makes me root for her.
Yeah, definitely. And I was very happy here for Hannah and Rinka. And I mean, I feel like especially it was so nice to see Hannah skating at something close to her potential. She's been having just such a up and down kind of competitions the last few. And she's very talented. And I think I had in the past kind of this impression of her as a skater who still seemed very junior and sort of rough around the edges, and sometimes charming and like the sort of rough around the edges. But watching this free skate in particular, I was just so impressed by the amount of nuance that's gone into the choreography and how she's really, it seems like, able to skate that and not have it be the transitions between the jumps, but really kind of live through the whole program. And so that was, I enjoy both of her programs for different reasons, but I feel like I hadn't, when I saw her free skate live, it didn't, like, I was like, okay. But seeing it here, I mean, and sometimes maybe it's just you're having a good skate and that's what kind of light and life into everything. But I really enjoyed both her and Rinka, and it was fun just to see, in such a rough competition in some ways, it was fun to see these skaters like actually be able to have those moments.
I would suggest Hannah take the triple axel out of the short program. I think it's putting her at too much of a disadvantage. Obviously, it worked out here, but on another day, it may not have done. But yeah, I do think, it's just bringing her down and making her have to climb a battle that she doesn't necessarily have to do if she just did a clean program with a 2A for the short and then tried.
Especially with the program,
the triple axels went all right. It wasn't perfect, obviously, but she stood up on it. So I would keep it to the free for now until maybe it gets more stable, and then you can try and put it back in the short. But it's a criticism I have of like several skaters if they're not consistent with a jump.
Especially with the program that requires so much sort of high energy approach. And so anyway, I was happy for her, and also I loved Rinka's post with all of her isopods that she'd collected, maybe like 6 or 7 of them. So good job, fans in China. And then the other skater that I definitely wanted to mention here was well, there are lots of people we can talk about, lots of other people here, but I did just want to mention Hung Yi Chen because it's been a long time since we've seen her, and she had, you know, just a great short program, especially, and I really enjoyed her, so I was glad to see her back.
Yeah, so happy to see her have a good comeback like that. I know she had, I can't remember what, if it was it Shanghai she was at? It might have been Shanghai she was at. Which didn't go very well, like, but for like that was kind of like a good like warm up kind of comeback for her, and this was like showing everyone I can do it. I can compete with everyone else here, and that was great to see.
Sorry for Nina. I mean, she still got 4th. Like, it's not. It wasn't a bad
place. So sad.
Was really hoping to
I
get up to that. So I was sorry to see that.
Yeah, she looks so sad and crying. I was like, you still did good.
Yeah. A 3rd and a 4th is really nothing to sneeze at. Yeah. Especially given the ups and downs of this Grand Prix where we haven't had a repeat winner yet on the women. So
that's really interesting to think.
I mean, we have to
think.
Yeah, I was going to say we have to assume that Carrie is going to do it.
But last year she had a down week, so you never know.
Yeah. Just in general, I mean, dance is more predictable, obviously, but every other event has been really interesting. We, you know, in terms of seeing, we're not going to have, you know, 3 skaters with 2 golds each, like showing up at the Grand Prix final. It's definitely been a lot more mixed, and it's going to be really interesting to see who eventually is able to make it here. We've had a lot of different skaters on the podium so far.
A lot of withdrawals and a lot of very much up in the air weeks.
Definitely.
I'm going to run through some comments that might spark some more thoughts. Amy says, happy for Hannah, though I like that her programs are quite unique. Even if they're not for everyone, it's nice to have someone try a lot of different things. That's what I love and respect most about skaters, is when they just like try something completely different. I always really enjoy that.
I know there's a lot of talk about Rinka's costume. I do think this is an upgrade on the one she had previously. Yes. I know this still isn't to the taste of some people, but she looks a lot more comfortable in it than she did in the last one. And, you know, if it works for her, it works for her.
I've got no problem with random zebra costumes. I mean, I couldn't. I have to stand up for it.
So. Laura says, I think Luna's free dance should just be Break My Soul. Vogue mixed into it is a bit too much. I remember listening to the Run Through podcast with Ashley and Adam, Ashley Wagner, Adam Rippon. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. But I remember Ashley saying, do you know what I have never thought about before? A 2-part Vogue program, because who doesn't want that? And that's just like, whenever I see Luna, that quote is in my head for some reason. I think it is obviously a choice that she's doing it. I would prefer just one because it feels a little bit jarring to me personally. I don't know what anyone else thinks.
I'm fine with the program. It's the opening with like the ooh la las that I don't like. It just kind of is a bit off-putting for me with those like kind of like ooh la las that kind of like build up the start of the program. It might feel a bit empty without them, but I would kind of rather it felt empty.
Yeah, I think it's also for me that I'm not a huge fan of either program, to be honest, but I think I like the short better than the free. But the thing that makes these programs work is that like just level of confidence and just like, and if anything is not at that level and if not having a good skate, then it starts to really feel like it drags and is a little bit disjointed. And that's just, I think it's just, they're challenging programs. And we said this before, like Luna is taking something on that like she can do and not a lot of people can do. But then when she's not at her best, then it's also still, I think, a challenging vehicle to really bring that much life into.
Yeah. Russell says Hannah's cuckoo fun. Is that right?
Yes.
Was better hair, better costume, choreographic changes. Shout out to Caitlin Weaver, friend of us, for loving her choreography, refreshing, and any change. I was going to say podcast, but I don't know if this is actually podcast.
Friend of the podcast.
Yes.
Friend of the podcast.
Yeah. Caitlin did say.
Have her.
Yes.
We almost had her fill in for Asha this week, but she couldn't make it.
Yes, but we'll have her also at some point this season, and it'll be fun to hear about her experience doing that choreography. I know she was back working with the skaters not that long ago and doing some touch-ups and stuff. So that may be part of why Hannah's program looks better. But yeah, it's fun programs.
Russell says Nina has a good chance at making the Grand Prix final, though slim, but a good chance. Because if any takeaway from this competition is that the women mend very hard.
Yeah,
it was very amusing.
Think about
didn't mend too much.
Yeah. I mean, but think about like where we were a couple seasons ago, where the women felt so predictable, and now the women are just chaos, and I do enjoy it. I mean, I like it when they are chaos because everyone's skating surprisingly well, rather than when everyone's skating with an issue. But I do chaos.
Chaotic good.
Yes.
Russell also says Luna needs to put like a prayer into the mix. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I had to go back and check because I know she had a Madonna program a long time ago, and I had to go and check what she used, and it was Frozen, and I love that program so much. But yeah, it would be nice, like a little kind of like callback if she introduced a bit more Madonna in the mix.
Yeah.
Melissa, I love a bit of chaos. Welcome to the club.
Yes.
I want to give a quick shout out. Not really a shout out. I want to self promo. Speaking of the menning or the women men, we have merch. The men menning merch. If you head to our Redbubble, which will probably be in the description at some point, or on our Twitter account, you can find some cute the men and menning merch that we released and everyone really loved. So I had an opportunity.
Bring it into your life around people who know nothing about skating, and just wait and see what questions you get. It's my favorite thing about random in-joke skating merch, of which I have a lot. And you just have very fun conversations trying to explain your life. So enjoy that.
And let's use that as a segue to
the men.
The men. So in first place was Adam Xiaohim Fa, in second place was Shoma Uno, and in third place was Mikhail Shidorov. What a men's event.
Right.
This was actually a great event. I mean, I was thinking, like, seeing the scores and thinking about it, I was like, oh, was this a tough competition? But actually, no. It's just we had such an amazing France that then this wasn't quite as flawless from everybody. But that whole top group did very well, and it's really enjoyable, especially in their free skates.
Absolutely agree.
So Adam, like I was saying about Deanna and Max getting the 2 golds, here we go. Adam is the only man so far who has 2 golds, having now having beaten both Ilya and Shoma, who are the everyone was looking at as the top 2 coming into this year. So
I don't think anyone would have predicted that. Like, Adam obviously is the European champion, and when Adam is on, he is incredible. But I don't think anyone would have thought he would come into the season and beat like Shomer and Ilya.
He wasn't a breakaway. I mean, he was a European champion. He skated very well, but he was, among a group of 4 or 5 people who you could have imagined being European champion if they'd skated well. He's now moving into himself into a very different category here. And I mean, I think I feel like I said all of my opinions about what I did and didn't like about Adam's programs in skating last week, so I will not repeat it and just say that I do think his quad lutz is a thing of beauty, and I am just, every time I see it, I am very pleased. It's so satisfying.
I had I bookmarked this tweet from Skating Scores. He said, with 6 consecutive wins, Adam has essentially tied the single season records in the IJS era with the most amount of goals, which I thought was wow. And he also noted that there have been many longer winning streaks across multiple seasons, for example, 13 from Nathan Chen. But Nebelhorn Trophy, French Masters, Shanghai Trophy, Cup.
It would be a Trophy Metropole.
Thank you.
He's got it down as Cup of Nice, but yeah.
It said Cup Nick. I couldn't decipher that.
Yeah, that's the old name, which was Cup of Nice. It's Trophy Metropole.
Grand Prix France and Grand Prix China. I think that's pretty amazing. And Adam hasn't always been consistent, so it's nice to see that develop and sort of watch that grow as well over the years.
Yeah, because I remember last year on the Grand Prix, he had a really good French event, and then his second event he just crumbled, and it was such a shame to see because you knew he had all of that potential, but he just didn't have the consistency then.
Sorry, I was just going to say my problem with this score came from the judges, not from the skater, etc., etc. When we blame scores, we blame the judges. It's never the skater. But I think his 91 with no combination in the short program was a choice, and I will leave that as that.
I did think also that getting the higher score in the free, higher score overall, or just higher PCS. Now I can't remember. But in the free skate than the previous week also seemed like a bit of reputation judging happening.
Yeah. It was a season's best free, I think, and I was like, okay,
choices.
I mean, but again, this is where we're poking at nitpicking here, where it was really an amazing accomplishment for him. This also broke Shoma's winning streak of every competition that he'd been in since post-Olympic Worlds.
Yes.
Wow.
So, and I have a lot of opinions about how Shoma's doing right now, but mostly, which is just to say that the fact that he is so satisfied with himself, I think is really interesting, that he could have that free skate and come off and be smiling. Is just, I think, really says a lot about how much his mindset has changed. And that he said that he's really enjoying training. He feels like he's getting better, like he's got goals and motivation, but that he's thinking about the artistry and not about as much about the jumps. And, we saw him land a good quad loop and quad flip in the warm-up, like right before. It's not like those were, it's not like he's lost the ability to do those or something, but I think him letting go of that pressure and letting go of the sense that he has to please other people and just trying to sort of please himself with his performances is kind of an amazing thing to see from a skater at his level. And I was wondering how it was going to hold up, the first time he then didn't have a good skate or didn't win something.
Yeah.
And so, seeing that, I think, is really interesting.
I think my only other comment about the short program, because I was waiting for my train at the time and I was like, I'm going to watch the men's short, was that quad flip in the short being called fully rotated.
Yeah, no.
Mark said it on the live commentary, and I went back and I was like, yeah, that's pretty not rotated. And then for it to get the GOE that it did, and not even have like a cue, not even like a courteous cue. I was like, okay. But again, judges thing.
Like, I know touching and being a technical specialist are not easy jobs,
Mhm.
but if everybody watching can see the issue and you're not marking the issue, you're going to annoy people.
And I saw some of the comments about that, you know, people commenting on that on Twitter kind of in both directions about it. And I just feel like, you know, does the fact that Shoma sometimes has messy tech and really that he does not have, like, even when it's going well, like a very pristine quad flip, does that bother me? No, it doesn't take anything away from my enjoyment of him as a skater, or that I feel like he should be, you know, winning things he wins. On the other hand, when there's inconsistency in the marking like that, when you know that another skater would get called on that every single time, that is hard to see. And so I do really empathize with that frustration. And just the thing that I thought was the most interesting watching seeing both programs, that he's gotten over his inability to do a quad toe, triple toe. Both programs, they were not doubled. Very exciting. But almost no jump in the free skate was what was on what was marked, because he ended up the Salchow was supposed to have a double toe. There was supposed to be 2 double axles after in the it was supposed to be triple axle, double axle sequence. Like, you know, so he's still, even with what he has on paper, there's still points being left on the table there technically. And so I'm kind of curious, like, it's one thing to say you're going to intentionally lower your tech score or your tech base values in order to try to work toward the artistry, like taking out the quad Salchow. And then it's another thing to not do what you were intending to do on paper. So I'll be curious to see how that evolves, and how with NHK, now that now that he's had this, Stefan keeps calling it a reference point, now that they've got that reference point where it goes from here. But the programs are beautiful, and I really enjoyed seeing them, having talked to Stefan about those programs a couple of weeks ago, and hearing about the images that they're meant to reflect. I think also helps me to appreciate the kind of unusual structure of the free skate, but thinking of it as this really reflective moment, and being able to sort of take a pause, and whether that pause is a pause between the end of a competitive career and something else, or just a pause in his competitive career, but this sort of like moment of reflection is really really interesting for me to watch. So I enjoyed both of those, and I think it'll be really interesting to see how his season goes from here.
And if you haven't read it, Anna did do an interview with Stefan, as we said, and it's up on our website, where Stefan talked about all of his students. So go check that out as well.
Yeah. Love to Mikhail Shadorov. Been a big fan of him since he was in juniors. I'm very annoyed at myself because I did originally pick him for fantasy, and then I changed it the night before. Very annoyed I did that, because I thought Socha's probably going to beat him. I was like, no, I should have stayed with it. I should have stayed. But yeah, he's a very interesting skater to me. He has incredible technique. Still needs to work on some of his PCS a bit, but it's got so much promise, and I love watching him skate.
See, this is the thing. He's kept his free skate. I mentioned this in the last stream. Skate America, I think he was at.
Yeah. No, Canada. He was at Canada.
Okay, Skate Canada he was at. He kept his free skate, and the performance on his free skate has improved a lot. His short program transitions wise, I noted the transition into his combination in his short. Wow. But it felt empty. This is a thing that can happen in programs. It is jump to jump to spin to jump to jump. Like sometimes they just don't connect, or sometimes you have, and Shinarov as an example has the technical content that obviously can boost that scoring, and I think his PCS was actually scored quite well in comparison to his tech score. But then when you look at, not naming any names, again, this is on the judges, some lower skaters that maybe don't have the best technical content but have better performance quality, then that doesn't match up.
Yep.
I don't remember the point I was making with this, but I'm going to leave that there.
It's a note on scoring and judges, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that his PCS was significantly better here, even from seeing Skate Canada, especially on this free skate, that his, and again, I think it's looking at the skating skills side and the program transitions more so maybe than on the performance quality. But I also think, I was thinking about this with Carmina Burana and how you can do it the way Conrad Orzel does it, which is that it's sort of an easier piece, that it has that kind of intensity. It has the sort of percussive stuff that makes your jumps be, big, and you can sort of skate big to it, but it doesn't take a lot of nuance. Or you can do it in a way that really pulls out all of the nuance in the music and the weirder parts. And I just thinking about the composition of the program and how the composition and the storytelling approaches match to the really complex transitions that Mikhail has in it. And so I actually feel like I was appreciating it a lot more watching it here and seeing that he really was putting that effort into all of those transitions. I am always in favor of skaters with lower tech content should still be getting high performance scores. I think if there's like one opinion that you can always count on me to have, that will be that. So I do agree about that part of it, though. It's the thing that I wish there was a lot more breaking apart of the PCS, because you really can have a great performance quality without even if your technical ability is much lower, and that's something that doesn't get rewarded as much as it should.
We can call it Josephine Taugard syndrome. Because we all love her, and thank God she has a minimum scores.
And the judges don't.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah. So Sota coming in 6th after winning his last Grand Prix, I think was a shock. I don't know if he felt extra pressure because of, coming in with that gold medal.
And such a competitive field at the top as well with Adam and Shoma.
And he, his free skate was pretty good. I mean, I think he had a popped one quad, if I'm remembering this right. But he was not overall, it was not, I think he still had 2 quads landed. It was not a disaster by any means. It's just this field was much more competitive than Canada was as well. And short program issues and all of that. But just to say, I don't think he should be, coming away from it feeling, ashamed or that he's sunk. He had an opportunity to put himself in an even better position, but I think overall, I still have more confidence looking at his skating and his ability to deliver in competition than I have some years where it really seemed up in the air.
Yep.
And Kazuki was really strong here as well. I thought he also really did well for himself, and that's, could easily have justified a place on the podium, except that he had 3 skaters that did so amazingly ahead of him, but that's life.
Yeah.
And then just because I talked to both of them earlier in the season, I did want to just mention Jimmy Ma. I thought that actually one of the things that Mark said in the commentary about his jumps was really interesting in terms of how his technique is swingier, and it makes him sometimes over rotate things and step out. And we saw that a lot in the free skate. And that, it was a shame that he wasn't able to, deliver here because it's his one. Well, no, actually, he's at Finland next week. I forgot. He's got so he's got the back-to-back. So hopefully that'll be better next time for him. And then poor Luca, who I don't know how you get to your Grand Prix and have your skate break. I'm so sympathetic, and also I want to shake him and just say, what were you doing that you didn't have, your equipment in order before coming in? But it was really, this was just really a struggle for him and just something he had to get through. But I'm very sorry for the way that this part of his season has turned out. I think both of his programs are so wonderful. And speaking of things that I think he should be getting much, much higher GOE on the choreo sequence in his free skate, because he has absolutely beautiful spirals. We never see beautiful spirals with musicality and stretch and extension in the men. And I think he should be getting just showered with all of the points for that one element. And so I don't know what the judges are doing, but that would be worth +5s in my book.
And I've just never understood the reasoning behind going senior this year. I hoped that I would be proved wrong, and it's not happened. I don't understand, when you could still do challenges as a senior and still be junior, why you wouldn't have stayed junior and been one of the most commanding skaters in the field and had that more experience. You only really had, he'd been on the junior Grand Prix before, obviously last year, but that was his breakthrough year on it. And he needed more time. The triple axel wasn't 100% stable yet. Quad definitely wasn't 100% stable yet. He just needed more experience there, and it feels rushed, and I don't know where he's going to finish at nationals at this point, and that worries me for his development. So I think he should have stayed junior. Obviously, it's too late now.
Could he still do junior worlds technically?
Yeah.
Well, and that's what he said.
His plan.
His plan has always been to try to make junior worlds and not senior. And and the U.S. junior men are this year not those who did compete on the junior Grand Prix are not nobody head and shoulders ahead of the field. And so I think that's still, stays decently at nationals. Maybe he'll get another challenger at some point, but I think that's still possible for him. But it's a shame. He also just said that he has been struggling a little bit with the more intense academics this year, and just again, I kind of wonder about that. Could have done the Grand Prix earlier in the season, and then it's
yeah,
I do not know what that logic was.
I remember Adam Hagara saying when he won his first junior Grand Prix, he's like, "Oh, I'm going back to school on Monday." It's just yeah, you had all that time to focus on the first junior Grand Prix before you got back to school.
Yeah, and I think my assumption. Well, I don't know that's for sure, but my assumption is that Luca's trying to finish out through his senior year in high school as a full-time student, and trying to keep that structure working for him. And so again, it just seems like another year at juniors would have been a nice, an easier time, but yeah. But anyway, we'll hopefully.
I was going to say, Daniel Martinov is doing, I think he's doing Warsaw Cup this week, if I remember correctly. And obviously he's going to be in the final. So he may be the biggest challenge for Lucas going forward.
Yeah.
And I'll just run through some wonderful comments we've been getting. Jonathan saying Mikhail Shadorov is the new quad god on the block. His jumps are amazing, so clean. That quad he pulled out of nowhere. Wowee. I love wowee. Daniel saying Xiao Him Fast free skate performance was an epic skate. Amy also loving Shaidarov. Russell saying, I love Lucas, such a balletic style, gorgeous to watch. Shame to hear about the boot problems, loved his. I want to say REM. Thank you.
Yes.
Short program.
The Gen Z is in the chat with us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Russell, because I'm obsessed with both of Lucas' programs, and I am in my off in my corner, with my struggling newly senior men coming last in their Grand Prix between him and Nikolai Memela. I feel like I'm just like, oh, guys, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Everyone has to start somewhere.
Exactly. Mr. Cal saying, I love Adam, so I'm happy to see him doing well. It's great that he's shown an ability to handle nerves, but I'm hoping next season he'll show a confidence that won't require him to do that. Jonathan shouting out Gabriele Frangipani with 2 good skates, looking strong for that second Italian spot at Worlds.
Ooh, I mean, I'd say that's a tough battle between him and Momola, depending on the day. But
yeah, that is
true. But so far this season,
you never know.
You never know, yeah.
But Gabriele has broken the curse of winning Nepola and then peaking there and not doing well the rest of the season. So he is. I'm feeling good about him.
True. You have to go to Nepola every year now because he's won it twice. You have to go there every year.
Kesnia saying Mark Hanratty was refreshing. He called out issues with Sherman's flip and axel in the short program, got positive GOE, while praising Shadorov's quad lutz in the free skate, which got a Q. Selective judging, which was disappointing. It does happen. We're harsh on it, but it does happen, sadly.
And we're big fans of Mark here.
Yeah. Also friend of the podcast.
He's been here twice.
Donna Drake saying, please help these sisters out by hitting the like button. Thank you. We always forget that. Please hit subscribe if you aren't already.
We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're nearly 100 away. Yes, please help.
Russell, love Kazuki's Halston free skate, so different for him. Love the piano effect in the same arena. It reaches out.
Yeah, it's really I enjoyed it a lot here.
Yeah, I think we've covered everyone.
So a little preview.
I did just want to say, Boyang Jin. I wish that he had been able to do a little better here, but it's nice to see how much love he was getting, and just in general, it was great to see that there were a lot of fans at this event. I feel like between Shanghai Trophy and then here, and then we've got Grand Prix final and then 4 continents. I really hope that level of fan engagement can be sustained, because while I know there's a bunch of challenges in terms of skaters and everybody and getting visas and going to China in terms of them hosting international events, if there is a growth of, and continued growth of skating fans in China that we've been seeing some of, I think it makes sense that the ISU is trying to bring more of those events there. We need more countries where people are engaging in skating in that kind of way. And so I hope that energy continues into the other events they're hosting.
And I loved, quote, local skater, Wenjing Sui, throwing the plushies for Boyang as well.
Yes. And hitting the judges and then hiding.
Like hitting the judges. She was ducking. She was like, oh no.
Very funny.
I think Mark said that was happening a lot. Like a lot of people were throwing plushies and smacking the judges with them.
I remember a friend at Nepla did that with a plushie for Phoebe and it hit the judges.
I got hit by a plushie at one competition while I was trying to walk to the mix zone, and I had to be like, what do I do with this now? And I was like, do I throw it on the ice? Do I give it to the skate? Like I had a moment of like,
because you give it to the skater, they don't think that you're giving it to them. It's just like,
wait, what am I doing with this?
I'll quickly shout out Claudia's comment because I just saw that they subscribed as well, so thank you. Such a shame Sota Yamamoto ended in 6th. I really hoped he made the Grand Prix final again. So we'll jump to Grand Prix of Espoo, I think it's pronounced.
Yes.
We got a cryptic tweet from Ivan Shmorenko who said, "Got some good news." Now, last time he did this, we thought he got Grand Prix France. He said it again. We thought he got Grand Prix France, but he didn't.
He didn't.
So maybe he's got Finland instead. I think he's scheduled
supposed to be at Warsaw.
But we also want Dr. Veshanen to get off the plane from Warsaw and go
I know people are hoping for that, but I don't think he's eligible because I think Finland gave up their spots. So I don't.
That's what I wanted to know: is does Finland get to claim a spot back if they wanted to, or
they should? But I don't know if that's how it works.
No, he's not, and I feel like that's that. Because
he would have been there if he hadn't been doing pets. He would have been there.
Yeah, but I'll be very happy if Ivan gets the spot. Also, I hope somebody gets the spot. I hope that even with the last minuteness, they can pull that off.
I know. I'm still wondering about Vladimir Samoylov as well, because he withdrew from Warsaw today. So that's also possibility. He is on the alternate list, as well as Ivan. So we'll see if any of them turn up. It also could just be an injury with Samoylov, because that's not uncommon with him.
Yeah, I was looking through some Finlandia entries, hoping that maybe someone from Finlandia would get it if their visa would still work. I don't know how visas work, but maybe that's how it works. I don't know.
But obviously, our assumption is, unless it's injury, that Litvintsev is probably a visa issue. He has had a lot of visa issues getting into competitions before.
I mean, anybody coming from the European Union should be fine visa-wise, I would think. But
so that technically Ivan isn't.
Yeah,
but he would already. I can't remember which other competition he did, but he would be going to Warsaw anyway.
Yeah. So then, if he was already in Warsaw, then going, Yeah. Sorry, I'm an American star. I should stop.
Hopefully somebody will get one of the spots, because it's always sad to see people withdraw the week off and those spots not get filled.
Especially two.
Yes.
So
very sad for June. I mean, both of them, but I was really hoping we'd get to see a strong performance from him here.
Also, I know a lot of people are speculating maybe he's not doing it because he won't get to the final, but that's not really something I think you should do when it comes to the Grand Prix, because if you win a Grand Prix, that's 400 points on your world standings. I don't think you should skip that if you're healthy.
I think it would, if there was another issue, then it's smart to sort of say, I'm gonna
take
step back. Yeah. So other men
we've got,
we have Kao Miura, Shun Sato, Koshiro Shimada, Matteo Rizzo.
It's going to be so interesting, because I feel like Matteo actually has a shot of making the final now.
I think that's why my voice just got really loud.
You went
excited. Like he could do this. Kevin Amos, obviously, up there challenging for medals. I think you really cannot predict with men. I'm going to be real.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same men as we're at Sheffield from Japan. I'm just thinking about that team with Kao and Shun, and then Koshiro, who hoping his ankle is healed enough that he's able to be competitive here. But it'll be fun to see those three, and then Kevin and Matteo. I mean it's interesting, because while there isn't a top man here who's you're like, oh well, they'll obviously be the winner, there's a lot of talent in that group. Also excited to see some of the men we haven't seen on the Grand Prix yet this year, Arlet Levandi and Makar. Both of them I enjoy a lot. They're not challenging for high spots here, but there's both skaters that I always just enjoy watching.
Hoping that Arlet's going to get his triple axel, because he's such a good performer and a good jumper. I don't know what. I feel like it's almost a mental block at this point, because I feel like there should be no reason why he can't get that.
Yeah.
In women, we have Youngyu Cheon Kim, Mana Kawabe, Kaori Sakamoto, Rion Sumiyoshi,
Amber again.
Scroll
Definitely going to be an
down,
interesting fight.
I'm hoping Amber can do, like, we've obviously seen her land the triple axel, like that sort of first hurdle is gone now. I'm hoping that we can see that continue in.
I'm hoping she can just put down a solid, like, just two solid skates, just two really good skates.
Yeah, I'm hopeful here. I mean, this should be Kaori's to win, but then we've got some. Yeah, we'll have an interesting battle, I think, for the rest of the podium, and yeah, hoping this will be good for Amber. I will also be interested to see how Rian does. She, podium here could end up the final. And Cheon Kim as well. And then my always favorite Lara Naki Gutman, I'm glad got the second Grand Prix. And I hope that we'll see that Jana Jyrkinen will be able to do a little better here. I was sorry to see her struggle so much in France, and hopefully this will be better.
Also interested to see how Nella does, because she had a very good Finlandia. She had a very good Finlandia. Yes. She's also a skater who's quite inconsistent, but there's so many good qualities to her skating, and probably somebody who not a lot of people are aware of, like on the big international scene. So I'd love to see her like make a statement and have a really good competition.
Totally.
I want to mention this comment. How many times do the Koreans have to compete next month? Maybe it's best to stay at home.
Daniel. I'm not aware exactly. There's a ranking competition and then probably nationals. I don't know if there's anything else, but yeah. I mean, there's more competition coming up for the men's ranks in Korea. It's not like, with the way John's season has been going, it's not a foregone conclusion necessarily that he would win. So if he wants to focus on that, that's probably a better idea.
Yeah, we'll see.
Always looking forward to Lara Naki Gutman's Hitchcock program.
Looking at pairs, we've got Kantimachi, Hassan Volodin. We've got the Hungarians. We have Peng and Wang again. Kovalev.
Did you see that Ellie and Danny are still on the list? So you would assume, if they are still competing, that the injury wasn't too bad last time out.
Yeah. I'm excited that we've got a Finnish hair team for the first time in a long, long time.
And they're very good. Obviously they had to wait a while to get out there because he'd competed at Junior Worlds for Italy, so then had to sit out an entire year before they could debut for Finland. But they've been really, really promising so far on the Challenger Series.
And I want to say they got Mins as well.
Yes, I think like the first competition they did, they got Mins.
Yeah.
And Andre was saying that, who's coaching them, Andre Hotrick was also saying that it's been fantastic how supportive the Finnish Federation has been and how much they've really wanted to have a pair team, and they really want to have the full roster to be able to compete for the team event. So that's exciting to see.
I've been saying this.
She's going to walk on the laptop.
Finland 2026 team event. I've been saying this for years. I'm so excited that they have a pair team. We'll work on singles, but it's fine. We'll figure that out. I'm gunning for my Finnish citizenship. I have Finnish interviews planned. I'm excited for Finland because it's obviously, you can see that they are trying to develop everyone, and it's obviously, it takes them step by step. They have a deep field of women, and it really depends competition to competition. Men, they sort of have, I want to say 2, maybe
They've got some babies coming up.
Someone's brother, younger brother.
Oh my god, Lindvor's, but
Yes.
Viveka's brother.
Yes, he's
Letty,
fun.
Yes.
Um,
I'm on the let's just keep so yes, let's develop the babies, and I'm also on the train of let's keep Walter competing
as long as possible
through 2026. The thing he's, we're all talking about how old he is, but like there's a whole bunch of pairs and dance men and women who are older than that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm on board for the rise of the Finnish team.
Looking at dance quickly, we have obviously Chuck and Bates coming. We have them
Lolo and Nick as well.
Against Lolo and Nick, which I think will be very interesting, especially Lolo and Nick's scores compared to the 2 Canadian teams from this past weekend. The Mrazeks, who I'm always excited to see and compare everyone else's speed to them, because that's always fun.
I'm being very much distracted by cat. I apologize.
Christina and Anthony.
Yes. Up against Zingis and Kolesnik. Speaking of our conversation about the teams that have it's similar personal bests. And then I'm always excited to see Orihara and Pirinen.
Yes, they've been so good this season. I did really hope they would get a second spot. Their programs are amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry, just very quickly from Daniel. We need to be able to say the doctor is in at the 2026 Olympics. Yes, we do.
Okay, so we should go through fantasy probably.
I think Anna had one more thing to say.
I wanted to. So 2 more things. One is that I would think we need to also give. Wow, I just had a complete mental freeze. The French dance team who are now Canadian.
Oh my gosh! Yes, I was going their first names.
Is apparently an osteopath who actually is like working as an osteopath as well. So like I just think like I love that we have Dr. Virtanen. I just want to make sure that we are also giving some love to
the osteopath romance.
Yes, it doesn't roll off the tongue quite as easily, but
no, it's a bit of a tongue twister.
I just wanted to preview that we have our guest for next week. So we will be back to having a guest and probably taking less time because we'll be worried about taking up other people's time.
I didn't realize we've done so long today.
We haven't done fantasy.
We will.
But we have Corey Sertelli on our stream next week, and it'll be very exciting to talk to him.
Yes, absolutely. Before we move on to fantasy, I've got to shout out Skating Scores. So if you don't know Skating Scores, you're missing out on so much. Absolutely. Looking forward to Goatlet Lavandi this week. We also owe Frangipani denied Tyria Challenger Gold this season. Give him the Italian spot. JK, I enjoy roller skating a lot too. We'll rush into fantasy because I know that's what everyone is
Lord
really
Folkpot
waiting
is a
for.
great name.
So Ellie picked out the first 2. The second one I will not read out. FML, I missed and a shout out to everyone who missed the deadline. And then the third one I picked a Flux, a Face, and a Dream.
Great names.
So we'll get into. I need to make this screen bigger because I can't read anything. Couple of China men. These are the people that won men. Only a couple. So I know a couple of. Oh, I'm on here. I forgot about that. Couple of people on here. I never think that that's my name. I forgot I changed it. I don't want to like pause for too long. So, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
we're only a couple away from 900. Donna, thank you for keeping an
Thank
eye
you for
out.
cheerleading for us. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll get there. Road to 1,000. We have a couple weeks left. No one won women.
So these are the high scores. I can't believe no one won women. Although I suppose Hannah was a kind of like an out of the box pick on the first group.
Yeah.
So shout out if you got close, and you can pause and read them.
All of the results will be up on the website tomorrow. So these are just the highest scores.
At some point tomorrow.
Usually in the evening hour time.
These are Cup of China.
Pairs. Which I don't think. No, I didn't win. I don't know if I won anything this week.
Yep. No, it's a Cup of. And then we've got dance here. Looks like we've got a pretty large number. I'm guessing by the fact that we still are on B's on page 1. So good job, everyone.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of dance.
Dancers and good job, judges, for keeping it consistent so that we all had something that was successful this week. I'm pretty sure. Yep, I still didn't win. I doing my streak of being, for someone who knows as much about skating as I do, I am very, very bad at fantasy.
Okay, yes, I did win dance. Okay, I didn't win anything else, but I did win dance. There's a lot of people who got dance right. God, I gotta make things tougher. I gotta make the groups tougher.
I was gonna say, how are you gonna do that? Are you gonna sabotage somebody?
I don't know. I don't know how I make the groups tougher.
Awesome. And so then our overall high scores for Cup of China. Nice job, everyone.
Obviously, nobody got full marks because nobody got full marks in women, but people did a very good job.
Yes. And then, okay, so this is overall for men. Yes. All right. That's close at the top there. Yeah. Overall for women, pairs. Nice. Quadruple loops, you're doing very well. And then nice dance. All right. I love that the winner for and still at 1 point still right now is the figure skating #1 hater, because that just seems perfect for especially for dance.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm still third. Somehow I'm still third.
All right. Well, good job, everybody, and make sure that you get your picks in for Finland, and join us next Monday when we're going to have Corey on our guest. And yeah, go read the interview with Stefan and what he has to say about Koshiro before next week, because and also pray for his sleep schedule going from China to Finland to Japan back to back.
Warsaw preview will be up tonight. Espoo preview should be up tomorrow, and obviously fantasy results will be up tomorrow, and fantasy will be up on Wednesday. Subscribe, like, do all those fun things. Help us along. Thank you for joining us for nearly 2 hours, which we did not think we were going to be doing.
The fewer of us there are, the more we talk somehow, apparently.
Oh my god. Okay, goodbye everyone.
Bye.